You are listening to Coffee with Gringos. I'm Paige Sutherland.
And I'm Ian Kennedy.
And today we have a special guest who is in Chile right now, Christian Fetterman. You may know him from his YouTube channel, Gringo Mode On, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and all the social networks. He's quite prolific in Chile. I've watched a lot of your videos. They're pretty funny. So welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Coffee with Gringos. Glad to be here.
So listeners, as you all know, if you get lost, check out that audio guide and transcript online at www.dynamicenglish.cl. So Christian, you're new to the show. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How long have you been in Chile? Why did you move there?
Yeah, so I'm from the United States. I've been in Chile for 7, almost 8 years. So what happened was, like many people, like many millennials, right? Like I graduated college. I was supposed to be an education major. I was supposed to be a marketing major first. Then I changed a couple times, ended up being education. And I wanted to learn Spanish. So that was like, I had my mind set on, what's that song? It's like the George Harrison. I got my mind set on you. Like I had my mind set on learning Spanish. I had to learn it. Like would do anything to learn Spanish. So I went and lived in Spain for 3 months in a little town outside of Madrid with a Spanish family where I was supposed to like teach them English, but I ended up like I didn't teach them anything, and I just like lived with the family for 3 months basically. So then I didn't learn like really any Spanish, so I decided to came back, finish my degree, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to another place. Let's figure out where. And it's like, well, I actually had a Chilean neighbor. My parents had a Chilean neighbor who was like 75 years old, ex-poet. And yeah, he was like inviting me to play chess with him. I was like, why would some weird 75-year-old poet, like, why would I play chess with this dude? And it turns out he's like from Chile, and he was like hilarious, like wacky, like eccentric, like just off his wagon. Like he had fallen off a ladder, actually. It was revealed to me later that he had fallen off a ladder. That's why he was so crazy. But he was always crazy. Yeah, it's just kind of tragic. Like he fell off a ladder. Like that's what he was like constant. Like it was like he was drunk all the time. But he spoke a lot of Spanish to me. He taught me some chess, and then his wife was Argentinian, and like I still, I call her like my godmother. I call him my godfather, even though my parents are like, they're not actually your godparents. Like by law they're not my godparents, but they're my godparents. And so then he like got me excited about Chile, I guess. I also had some Chilean tutors when I was in college when I first started. And then it was like, all right, Chile it's going to be, and then there was this program called Teaching Chile. That's run, I'm pretty sure they're still doing it. I don't know if you guys have heard of Teaching Chile.
Mm-mm.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, that was like, come down to Chile, teach at any school, live with a Chilean family. I was like, oh, those are all things that sound, interesting to me. So I did Teaching Chile, and from there, that was 1 year. They gave me like a small town in Chile, Los Andes, which like nobody goes to. I would never go to Los Andes, like if I just gone straight to Santiago, Like not that I want.
Been here 7 years now.
Yeah, and then I finished that year, and then I ended up moving to Valparaiso and Viña Mar for like 4 years, and then I moved to Santiago like 3 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, that is kind of what happens. You plan to go for a year, and then all of a sudden it becomes 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, short-term play.
You guys are similar?
So I came to Chile with the idea of kind of seeing how long it would take or how long I would be there. Kind of in the idea of like, we'll see how it goes first with a year, and I'm going on almost 4 years now. So I'm catching up to you there, but it's really easy to say, all right, we'll go check it out. And then, those years fly by, and especially if you're enjoying it, like I imagine we all have, it goes really quick. And before you know it, you think, wow, 7 years. I'm sure to you, it really hasn't seemed like that much time.
It hasn't, yeah. I mean, it's changed so much. I'm like, since I've been here, like
my settings have changed a lot, and like I've had like
I would say like 8 different jobs, like in total. Like I've had almost a different job every year since I've been here, to be honest. So it's never gotten like dull, that's for sure.
So for example, what are some of these different odd jobs you've been changing around besides your YouTube channel?
Um, so let's see. I was teaching at a preschool. I was like I taught at a series of preschools in Viña del Mar and Valparaiso. They're called Charlie Brown.
So that was when I was like, I just want to go live in Viña and Valpo. I just like love the cities, and I was like, I want to live there. So I passed my resume around to different schools. The only one that called me was a preschool, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, but I've never taught any kid below, 10 years old really. They were like, no, it's fine. And I was like, what? Okay. And they gave me the curriculum, and I was like, and they're like, okay, just go ahead, like just figure it out. Here's a sala of 3-year-olds for half an hour. Just give it a go. I was like, all right, mother finger, father finger, like really nervous. And then I got better at it over time, of like using toys and trying to make it like dynamic. And that was like, I ended up doing that for like 2.5 years. It was actually like one of my best jobs I think I've ever had. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. I bet your Spanish is pretty good now.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to like enough parties where I was the only gringo at the party, and or like salas de reunión, or the salas of like preschoolers. They don't know any English, like that helped me too. So everything along the way contributes. But it has been like it didn't come like completely naturally. Like I've had to work at it for sure.
Sure, but it helps to be in a place where you're all the time being immersed in the language, right? I know that's helped me out a lot. So it's kind of like sink or swim. You kind of you learn it or you don't, and then you have trouble getting by. So it sounds like you've really taken advantage of taking on the Spanish and really utilizing that while you're living in a country like Chile.
Yeah. I mean, that's like why I came to Chile. So any point I can, I always try to like hang out in the Gringo community, because I think Chile does have a cool like community of people from all over the world that in different places. There's a comedy group like the Chistolas, it's like it's English comedy in Santiago. Like what? That's really crazy. So I've hung out like in those groups, but I've always tried to the majority of my time hang out with Chileans in some capacity or another. So I got a rambunctious cat that is biting me right now. It's Cosmo.
What's his name?
Hey, come on.
What's its name?
Cosmo.
Cosmo. I like it. Great.
So Christian, we've both seen your YouTube channel, Gringo Mode On. Hilarious videos. Like a lot of them I know are parodies of gringo stereotypes, Chilean stereotypes, comparing the culture. I'm sure a lot of our listeners right now know what videos we're talking about, but how about you tell us a little bit about that? So when did you first start the YouTube channel, Gringo Mode On, and what really inspired you to do that?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for watching the videos. First I started doing some videos in high school. And I did like, my first video actually was fun things to do in York, Pennsylvania. It's still on YouTube, but it's just me like, playing video games, and it's so dry, and it's like throwing, socks at a fan, like a cat chasing a flashlight. Like there's nothing to do in York, Pennsylvania, like where I'm from, So that was a video, and it got some views. So I guess that kind of gave me encouragement to continue. And then I did a couple stranger videos, like me and my friend, we went to Walmart, and we asked people, like, the game was, if you can ask somebody and get them to admit that they watch pornography, you get a point. And we asked like old women. We asked old people just in general. We went for like the strangest people we possibly could, employees. And there were some other questions too that were like more explicit. But yeah, that was our video. Like we pretended like it was some school project like for education, and then we were just asking these like very personal questions about people's tastes.
And that's how you spent your first night in jail.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we didn't get kicked out of Walmart, but it was uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable for a lot of people.
So it felt like you always kind of were into video, so it just was natural, and you became a teacher to start your own channel to promote education?
Yeah, then it was like and then I kind of was doing them on and off for a while, and then I came to Chile, and like I just was focused on doing English, or excuse me, yeah, teaching English and learning Spanish. And then when I was at the preschool, it was like, all right, how do you prove to the parents like these kids have learned something, you know, like because they're like 3 years old, they're not gonna like, most of them are too shy to speak in front of their parents at like an assembly or something. So I was like, oh, I'll just do a video. So there I edited some videos, and I remember like the first time I showed it to the parents, like some of them were crying, and I was like, all right, this is cool. Like crying watching their kids speak English, and I was like, all right, like I should keep doing this. So then at the end of every semester, I would like, that was my thing. Like maybe, okay, I showed up late. Like, all right, you know, like shoot, sometimes my classes like they weren't always following through. Like I wasn't a 7 out of 7 teacher, but at the end of the year, you're gonna get a good video, you know, like, and the parents will cry. And so that's what kept me around for another year, basically. That's my saving grace at those preschools.
Nice. And it seems like, you know, the Gringo Mode On definitely has a certain style to it. It's a lot of humor, parody. Tell us, like, how do you think of that kind of style, that idea?
I get, yeah, so like, humor is always like something that it means a lot to me. Like I have an older brother who's like hilarious. Like my older brother he's 9 years older than me. So he's always like made fun of me when I was little. Like, and he's just vicious. Like he's constantly making fun of me. But he's really fast. And that's something I always liked with my like family, is that like whenever we hang out, like it's just all about like who's faster, you know, like, and so for me, like I always, like humor is family. Like humor like means a lot. And my friends here in Chile, like most of them are some of them are pretty wacky, but a lot, like they're all funny, you know, like really cast of cartoon characters, I guess, like in some way. So, and that's kind of like, I really enjoy watching like The Simpsons or The Big Lebowski.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things that I don't know. I guess I find them really, really funny. So for every video I do, it's always different. I guess my target's never the same. That's what I try to make fun of everybody to some extent and myself. So no one feels like they're, you know, getting the brunt of it or excluded, I guess to some extent. Yeah. So every video is different. You know, some video I want to make fun of, you know, the protesters in Capitol Hill, or another video I want to make fun of, you know, gringos that first got to Chile and all their misconceptions. Another one will be like, I don't know, Chileans, some of the things Chileans do, you know, like it's worth making a few jokes about, even if I get some bad comments. Like, how do you come to our country and make fun of? Like, because I make fun of everybody. Come on, you know.
Right.
Do you have any favorites? Any favorite videos?
Let's see. I think like when the gringo first gets to Chile.
Yeah.
When llegan a Chile, that one was cool because it was like
spot on.
Yeah.
What's up?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said it was spot on. I was like, I thought that. It was very relatable.
Yeah. And for me too, it's like the making of the videos is also a story. Like when I went to the protest to film, like, lo que dicen el gringo cuando van a las protestas en Chile. Like it was just me and a friend, and like we had a kind of a script that we printed out, but we were just like legit. That was tear gas, like right next to us, and it was like people sprinting left and right, you know. And I had to be like, "Yo, close the camera, let's run. Okay, let's go." You know, like it was like we were in Baghdad or something, like trying to film a video. It was like a war zone that we were trying to do this video, and you know, my buddy's like, "No, we can't film there." You know, like people are throwing rocks, and I was like, "You want the shot or you don't want the shot? Like, you want to be a journalist or not?" You know, like. So we were sprinting around, and then I had to like recruit people to be like the fake thieves. So it was like,
that was fake? I thought that was real. I was like, how'd you get footage of that?
No. I had to put up a thing on Instagram like, hey, if you want to be in a Gringo Mode On video, come on down.
Okay.
So 4 people responded, you know, but thankfully 4 showed up. And yeah, so it was like, I had them to show up. I had to go to the Peruvian vendor close by. We were like, I talked to them some, but I'm not like, you know, hola, ¿cómo está, profe? Like, I'm not like constantly talking to them. So I had to convince them like, hey, this is just a funny video. If you can let me use your, use your space for half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, well, just let people walk by. So they were cool with it. When they saw the video afterward, they thought it was awesome. But yeah, it's the videos themselves, and then like this, a lot of cases, it's like the weird stories of the beg, borrow, stealing we had to do in order to make the video.
Sure, that's great. It seems like a lot goes into it. And, it's great too, I think, as a gringo or as a Chilean watching your videos, is because, like we said, they are relatable, because those of us who have moved to Chile or have gone and visited for a long time, you can relate to those things. And so you can really laugh and say, oh my God, I was the same way when I got there. Or, I thought this part of the culture was a little different for us. And so I think while they're really funny, they also kind of they really make a connection with the people who also have that experience. So I think it's both fun and sort of meaningful in its own way too, even though it's sort of, tongue in cheek or kind of, these funny sort of videos. I think they have more than one meaning to people who watch them. So it's really great.
That's awesome. Yeah. I guess in weird ways, they are like still educational videos. I'm like, don't do this. No.
Exactly. And so, Christian, you've been doing this channel for about 3 years now. I know you've been doing videos for a long time before that, but specifically with Gringo Mode On for about 3 or 4 years now. So I'm assuming you must have a blooper reel of sorts, a lot of extra footage maybe that doesn't make its way into the channel. So could you tell us a little bit about maybe some funny things that have happened or some memorable things?
Oh, sure. So what are the things that didn't get into the channel? What are some videos that were they were just too racy for network television? Let me think. I mean, it's because I always get so attached to each video while I'm making it that as soon as it's done, I kind of just I try to forget about it a little bit, So I'm trying to think what's something that I tried to do and it fell through. So one thing I want to do, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm all about this idea. And I've told people about it and they're like, dude, what are you thinking? What is this? And I really want to make it happen one way or another, is a Chile exploitation video. So blaxploitation movies in the 70s, which once in a while when I'm with, drinking with a few friends, we'll put on a blaxploitation movie because they are pretty amazing. And so it's the Afro guy, and it's he's the smooth guy trying to get back at the man, and there's the white guy well, I'm gonna get you, you can't go around here in my business. And then it's he's has a cool old Cadillac car and he is, Shaft or whatever. What would be a Chilean version of that?
Or what would be the gringo? Imagine the gringo is, in this case, a gringo exploitation,
I mean, I feel like you would do it for Cuicos or something would be funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The Gringo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you could really have a lot to play off on that. Yeah, that'd be a funny idea. And but it seems I mean, we're in podcasting where we don't need the B-roll or any of that stuff, but we record for probably an hour sometimes and use 10 minutes of it. So you probably just have so much raw footage when you make these videos, and it becomes sometimes 2-3 minutes, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's part of that's part of what makes me sometimes at the beginning when we start filming being please, let's just film the good stuff. Oh man. Because my friend's this will be in the bloopers. I'm I gotta watch this, 2:00 in the morning trying to figure out if this is working. So yeah, some videos have a tremendous amount of footage, and going through it all, it ends up being it starts out as some hilarious I'm inspired, and then by the end I'm just it's just a game of discipline. Can I watch this? And then I have to watch it. I watch it with a friend. I show it to my Chilean. I show it to a gringo friend. Do they think it's funny? I show it to a Chilean friend. Do they understand it? And then half the time it's the first time I show it to people with all the raw footage, they're dude, I don't get this at all. What is the point of this video? It's well, I'm trying to show that gringos don't know that much about this. And they're just do it again. I'm no, I already filmed it. Like, okay, well, do you have other footage? I'm like, okay, well, I got these other backup jokes. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe this one works. Maybe this one works. And it's a lot of trial and error. That's the thing. I wish I was like one of those guys that just like, boom, I show up, first take, it was awesome. And I have friends that are like that. You know, like I'm trial and error. That's the same way I learned Spanish, was just failing in front of people, you know, until I got better, you know.
Fair. That's definitely, I think that's the process for most people. I feel like if they said they just woke up and learned the language, they're lying to you.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, it takes a lot of work. But yeah, so Christian, you know, as you said, you've been in Chile 7+ years. It seems like a lot longer than you plan to stay. Do you think you're in it for the long haul? You'll, you know, permanently stay there, or do you plan to go back to your home country?
Yeah, part of me feels like I could stay in Chile, and it's kind of cool that I've built an audience here. Because I have, you know, friends that just stayed in the United States and like New York City, and like trying to make it big in New York. Like some of my friends that I met in college that were comedians and stuff, and it was like trying to be big in the United States doing this stuff or get an audience is really hard because there's so many people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
For me, at least, as like a gringo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I'll go back to the United States. Like, I want to live off videos one way or another. You know, like for me, that's a big thing. I want to be able to tell a story, enough people watch it, and I can figure out affiliates and stuff and just live off that. Like, I don't know if I can, like, at some point I will have done every joke about a gringo in Chile. Like, I will have reached the bottom of the barrel. It's coming, you know? There's only so many like angles I'm gonna be able to find, you know? So I'm thinking at some point when I feel like, all right, this isn't quite, I'm repeating myself and this isn't like what I want it to be. I'm thinking I want to travel around South America for a while, see other countries and do other videos. I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of like interesting legends, urban legends, and people that believe urban legends that I could maybe do like videos about urban legends in different South American countries and like really trying to get, you know, as close as I can, because some of it's too weird for like lugares que hablan, you know, like
Yeah.
they're not going to actually go to like El Trauco, like these, or like, you know, search for UFOs or something like that. They won't do the crazy stuff. I feel like there is a space for that to be pursued, like just a wide-eyed gringo being like, what's that about? You know, and like maybe getting in trouble, like, or, you know, filming something crazy, who knows? But yeah, do that around South America. And I want to get fluent in another language. So I'm starting to learn Portuguese. So maybe live in Brazil for a while. Something tells me like South Korea could be cool. But I don't know. I feel like I'm still in a good time to like learn new stuff. So I don't want to like, you know, settle and just be like, well, I'm you know, I'm one of the funny gringos, and like, I don't want to get, no, I'm gonna have to let go of this at some point, and maybe, you know, transform to something different.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I think we all kind of go through that when we're not living in our home country of, do we stay? Do we go somewhere else? Do we go back? But it seems like, you know, you've been there so long, you definitely have fallen in love with the country. What do you love most about Chile?
I do think it's fun to be like the only gringo in the party. That is something to me. I think is like, and the way Chileans will like tease me and stuff. I think it's pretty funny. I don't know, playing like pickup soccer games.
You get made fun of for that Budweiser hat you're wearing.
I certainly do.
More gringo.
The king of all beers. The king of all beers. I stand by Budweiser.
Yeah, America. There you go.
Yeah. No. I'm all about my Budweiser. I'm all about my. But now, those kind of things. Figuring out like what Chileans think is interesting. I've really enjoyed. I don't know. Going to playing like pickup soccer games in Chile. For me, it's so much fun. So like getting together with the boys and like, you know, what's our strategy, guys? And like, you know, we hate those other guys. And then like after the game's over, it's like, all right, we're gonna get beers with those guys. And like, it ends up being a lot of those experiences are really great and hard to replace. Just going in small towns of Chile. Like I love to go when I was in La Serena a couple times and like meeting people in the small towns and, you know, like the family parties and like, you know, staying up until 5 o'clock in the morning and getting churrascos or completos and stuff like that's the best. Yeah. or going to, you know, Bellas Artes and meeting people there, and, you know, just having nights on the town I've had in Santiago have been really a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That's the dream. That's great, man.
definitely
Not
a fun place.
Every night I had in Santiago, I was wasted. Like, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, no, Christian, this is great. Thanks for joining the show and you know, making your videos. They're definitely, you know, help our listeners and a lot of people, you know, who are trying to learn English and in a very funny way. So it's great. So really, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah, it means a lot to hear that.
Yeah, of course. And for our listeners, please check out Christian's channel, Gringo Mode On. You'll find some hilarious videos, but don't take offense to them. He makes fun of everyone. So
Yeah, good fun.
So as always, listeners, again, if you get lost, check out that audio guide and transcript online, www.dynamicenglish.cl. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.